Yeah, well, my next article is I guess it's more of a rant on UX design. It's titled UX has bad UX. And you can find this at uxdesign.cc. And this article is from Mikhail Malwix. I'm just gonna invent names, right? Nobody, I mean, unless they go and check. But I'm like, how do you pronounce that name anyway?
Mikhail.
So Mikhail, right? That's what I
Yeah,
was thinking.
Mikhail, I think.
So he starts off
Malvis.
he starts off the article saying how UX was like this kind of new thing, and it kind of blew up and it was great, and that it became a great field, and there's everybody kind of got paid really well, and yada yada yada. And then it started to, what he says, considers it started to become a joke. And so he was saying that he says, we started drinking our soy lattes and going through countless pages of personas like our personal Facebook, and so his kind of reasons why he feels that there are problems is that, one, he says too many chefs spoil the stew, and he was saying how there are too many barriers between design and the end user. And so he was saying that there's like too many people that need to get involved: marketing, sales, the project managers, the researchers, marketers, the legal team, right? And so all these barriers are kind of making our designs uh, transform too much and get edited too much, and so it's not the same as the final product, right? He also goes on to say how, like, maybe we're not thinking, like, if just because we have the data, that we're not stopping to think, hey, is this even a good idea or not? And the kind of example he brings up is newsletter pop-ups, right? We see them on every site you go onto, right? You go onto a site, and like 2 seconds in, you get this pop-up saying, hey, sign up to our newsletter. And they're saying, you know what, 5% of people actually sign up, 95% always close or like leave the site, and really you only gain like 3% of of uh of engagement. And is that worth it? you know I don't know, right? And so what else? He goes on to say that we're overcomplicating the process. UXers have this language that they kind of get into when they're talking about design, and they're not speaking like human beings in regular conversations, right? Like using, I would say, like holistic, you know, we're trying to get a holistic view of this kind of thing. You're like, what? Who? We're making a sales app. We're not talking about religion, you know and so he also goes on to say that UX has a hole in it. And one, he pretty bluntly says UX designers can't design, that they're more dealing with wireframes, and that you're not dealing with, I guess, the more of the visual, right? They're not thinking that UX designers makes make stuff, but they can't see what the end product is going to be. They can't visualize it. And so what he's saying, is that teams should be kind of more of an overlapping kind of, um, I would say, like an overlapping team of ideas, right? So they're saying uh, UX designers should sketch more, and learn to do more visual design. And yeah, I mean, so that's a lot of pretty much what he's saying. He says, and he also says you should drop UX altogether and then just call it digital design. And so he definitely goes, he goes pretty much in depth. And to be honest, I kind of disagree with a lot of what he's saying. And I'll explain why. And so first, to go back to all the cooks in the kitchen, right? Uh, the reality is that in our design, we always design to make it look the best. Like this is the best case scenario for our design. And always, we always get the worst case scenario, right? After it's been through content, after it's been through legal. And the reality is, I mean, that's the reality. We can't skimp on legal. We have all these people that are in the process for a reason, right? As designers, we know about the products, but we're not going to know more than the researchers and the marketers and product themselves. And so we're at the disposal of all these different teams. So we need to work collaboratively. The problem is the communication isn't quite there yet, right? I mean, that's a problem. We're not in all the meetings. We don't have time to make the final pass. We're kind of just kind of put at the end, in the beginning and at the end, but we're not there kind of along the way as everybody else are making these decisions, having these conversations. We need to be there from start to finish, so we see this progression, we see the errors right away, we can course correct and make the update our designs to look better. But no, we're like stuck, and you're like, "Ugh, you need to have these 5 pages of legal. Okay, well, I have to shove it in somewhere and make it look nice. What am I going to do, right?" And so we're kind of left to be fixers, and whereas we're not, where we should be kind of more involved always, right, throughout. But people that I guess they don't, products doesn't, project managers don't see that. They're like, oh yeah, we could bring them at the end. They'll get that final look at it, but it's like, yeah, but I didn't see this whole mess that you created in the beginning or along the way. So the newsletter thing is also kind of tricky, right? um they're saying that, if you get only 3% engagement, is it worth it? And the reality is like, if it's 3% engagement versus 0% engagement, that is still something. Unfortunately, it works. It doesn't work that much, but it works better than not having an option at all. And so, it's definitely, it's almost a dark pattern, to be honest. uh, but it's something that is proven to have some effectiveness as opposed to having nothing. And so I don't it's a tough one, but if it is, should we do it if you only get that much engagement? I say maybe, right? Maybe. So okay, so when he talks about uh UX designers need to design more and should be more knowledgeable, I say get a visual designer in there. It's like, what, like, when I think of like how I deal with other teams, let's say development, I learn I feel like I need to learn coding in order to talk with developers, right? And not so that I could go in and develop if they need, they're like, oh man, we're so behind. I'm not learning coding. So I go, okay, you guys, step aside. Let me get me a laptop. Let me get in there. Let me pull up my sleeves and go in there. No, I'm going there so I understand their challenges, and I could better make assets, better make designs to fit them. So when I'm learning more about UX and UI design, it's not to go in and say, okay, look, you do the research, I'll go in and I'll go conduct some interviews, and then we'll come. No, I'm doing it so that I better know where your data is coming from, why you're making these decisions, how can I use that to improve the visual design. I would say get a visual designer. Right? Stick to what you're good. If you want to be a UX designer, then you got to get in there. I mean, that's the thing that's been driving me nuts about the whole UX profession, is that they keep adding so many different skills to it, that if you want to be a UX designer, you have to like learn how to be a UX writer, how to be a UI designer, how to be a researcher, I mean, yeah, there's different specialties, but to say that UX design is like this all encompassing field is insane, right? Like, I think that's been my biggest kind of headache with UX design. There's too many things that fall under UX. I think we need to have a better, just break of what it is really, and not uh and not get rid of UX design and call it digital design. No, we need to say, look, you're a UX designer. This is what your skills are only. Leave the rest for the other type of design. I don't know. Terry, am I crazy? You're you have a more level head. You tell me.
Um, what I read, excuse me, um, it says teams. Two real designers who understand research can think like the user and can do the UI with almost always doing a better job than a team of 20 narrow path experts combined. I thought that was like, huh. Two real designers. Again, what is real?
Yeah. Like, what does
Right?
that mean? What are those
Yeah.
skills? You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if somebody went to a, a design school of a posh design school, are they a better designer because maybe somebody went to a state college?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, two real designers who understand research can think better than a user. Yeah, I mean, I think um, he has his own um opinion,
Hmm.
and yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I don't think one person should just kind of stick to their lane. Um,
Hmm.
because when you think of it, any creative field, people have different backgrounds, right? A chef can come from being a painter or something, and they want to do cooking, so they went to cooking school, or they were self-taught, or somebody that's doing flower arrangements, somebody who writes. Maybe they didn't get a literature degree or something. Maybe they were an auto mechanic just to make ends meet. You know, but their secret is they want to become a writer, and they become a writer. So I mean, just because UX, you have to be UX, and UI, you have to be UI. I think there's a lot of crossover,
Hmm.
and I I think I'm opposite of what he's trying to say. I believe if you're passionate about something, um, if it's UX or becoming a UI designer or just even trying to understand um, code, it's just make the damn thing. Just do it. The more you make, the more you're gonna improve. I mean, you just can't sit in a room and think about it. I mean, you can think about it, but I mean, will you have anything on paper? Will you have a design ready? I mean, you do a design, you get feedback. It looks like shit, excuse my French, but
Hmm.
you get over it and you make it better. I just really think a lot of designers are just really attached to their work. Like, oh, my work is personal. And it's like, no, it's not. Change it,
Hmm.
you know? Uh, yeah. So on some things, I am a little opposite, but that's okay. It's great to hear his opinion, and
Hmm.
what is the real world designers or everything, because that's why in our field, in our industry, everybody has a different opinion, and 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 just to have that case, I think that's pretty freaking rad.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't hate the points that he made. He definitely does have a lot of great points, and I definitely like where he says that designers should actively use the products that they make, right?
Yeah,
And I completely
absolutely.
agree. Even
Yeah.
even if it's not something that you like using, or you still have to use it, and use it pretty regularly, right? In an ideal world, we'll be using products that we want to use, right, in the first place, but uh so many people don't get that opportunity. And so Yeah, I mean, maybe the reason why we're like they said that we're making bad products, maybe that there's really not that many, um, like we're running out of really innovative products to make right now, right? There's like we've already filled with a lot. I mean, new products sure are definitely being created, and sometimes we're adopting them, but I feel like we're adopting products at a lot, definitely a slower rate than we used to, and so it's just hard to. It's really hard to like innovate, right? There's like, what else do we really need? At least right now.
Yeah, yeah, and at the end of the article, he said our goal should not to be sit in meeting rooms and chit chat about the recent statistics. The goal should be make great products from the start, which that I agree.
Yeah.
But having data does help, I think, too. So I mean, it's a
Oh yeah.
it's a 2020. It's a kind of like, does it help or doesn't help? Does or doesn't? Does doesn't. So it's just everybody has a different opinion, and everybody beats to a different drum, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I feel like also the statistics don't even. I mean, I would say for a majority of cases they're gonna work great, but sometimes you just make something that people just like, and you just kind of made it, and it becomes a hit, right? Like think like Flappy Bird. Some guy just like made a fun kind of game ripped off like Mario, and it's the simplest game, and it exploded, right? And I don't. He's like a personal, like a single developer on his own time. He wasn't like, hey, I wonder what data points are, blah blah blah. But he's like a very very he's like an exception, yeah, case, right? And so we don't always and so for everybody else, a majority of the other time, yeah, we're gonna need stats and information just to see if our product's even worth doing. A lot of money is at stake for a lot of these companies, so we kind of are forced to do whatever the money is paying us to do.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. But not only that, he stirs up conversation, and we're talking about it, and that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that UX has bad UX. I've always, it's always been kind of my stance from the beginning. Uh, so I definitely agree there. I don't agree with maybe the reason, but or maybe he's right. I don't know. What are your thoughts, listeners? Let us know. Maybe
Yeah,
let's get your input.
yeah. I mean, I
send
think
us a send us an email at ramblingsofAdesignerpod.com.
yeah, I think the more we hear from everybody, and yeah, I I I would like to hear that. I would like to hear. That would be something to really talk about, I think.
So the article was called UX has bad UX, and you can find that at uxdesign.cc.